Okay, I guess I can see. We are here with Preston Dennett, MUFON researcher of 25 years, experts, author of 17 books, and co-host on Third Phase of Moon Radio. Preston, you've got a really important case right now, and before you tell us about this, tell us about your experience in researching similar cases and how many you've done in general.
Yeah, I've been researching UFOs for about 25 years now and written several books on the subject, and have done an enormous amount of research into underwater UFO activity here on the coast of Southern California. So I'm really excited about this case involving a Boy Scout by the name of Alan Bergholt, and he's going to speak to us about his amazing experience while on Catalina Island, during which he and his fellow scouts saw no less than 200 UFOs. It's an extraordinary case. There's multiple witnesses, there's electromagnetic effects, and it went on for 2 hours, and it's really quite astonishing. He's seen apparently 5 or 10 different types of craft, and saw these craft moving in right angles, moving in ways that planes cannot move, and most importantly, moving in and out of the water. So it's an extraordinary case, and I'm really excited about speaking with him.
Say your name one more time, Mr. Talker.
Richard Bergholt.
And you are?
Shani Bergholt.
And you are both the parents of Alan.
Yes, Alan's our son.
And Alan, one more time, say your name and your association you're with.
Alan Bergholt. I'm like 14 and a half.
And you're a Boy Scout.
Yeah, Boy Scout.
Yes. And you had an amazing encounter in Catalina with your Boy Scout troop, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just finished 8th grade.
Yep.
Troop that looked like a house.
Oh yeah, that was one of the lights on shore. It was like really bright lights. I don't know if it was like one of those glass like dome house or something. That's what we thought it was at first, but then when it started moving over, it's like, wait, that was over 20 degrees to the right of that rock. It wasn't on top of the rock. At the end of it, it was like on top of the rock, which didn't make sense. I was like, that's not right. And then, yeah, the other one was moving over at the same time, like they were going together. And then this one went over a little bit, but then it went back, and then it kind of went closer together. This one went down, but that one went like up.
So it's like a spaceship made of glass? Or
Yeah.
see-through glass? Or
Yeah, I guess, or something.
I've heard that before.
How
as
many
well.
did you see?
Yeah.
Hundreds, I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
And hundreds, they were all shaped different, several of each kind?
Yeah, and then there's some of these, like maybe 12 of these total.
Wow.
And then this is basically what the shore layout looks kind of like. It's like, this is like the lighthouse we saw, which ended up being over there, which was kind of weird. And this was like the 2 lights, or even 3, sorry, we thought were planets, but they weren't really. We don't think they're planets, because planets don't do that. And these are just kind of like the lights of the cars we could see going down the freeway. And then we saw some lights in the water, but they were like, wasn't so as bright as these, but then we're like, well, water kind of does that.
You know, you mentioned in your History Channel when you were on the USO episode, and also in your books, there was another case that you talked about, I believe it was in the 90s, where over 200 ships were seen coming out of the water and flying to the sky. Would you compare that case to this case?
Yeah, the case you're speaking of took place in Topanga Canyon, which is located right along the coast there, literally within viewing distance of where this other experience took place. And that involved a couple, 2 people, and it actually turned out there were more witnesses to that night, 20 or 30 actually. But this couple saw literally hundreds of craft coming up from below, not from above. So yeah, this has got a lot of similarities to the Allen's case, and it sounds like whatever's going on in the Santa Catalina Channel, it's holding hundreds of UFOs. It must be a parking lot of UFOs down there, or a base, I'm not sure. But this is not the only case in this area involving hundreds of UFOs. There are multiple cases now.
And this one started it off by like getting really, really bright. This is like the brightest object we saw.
Right.
That one right there, it just kind of went whoosh, and just like, it was like a perfect pillar you would see going straight down through the water of light that was reflecting off the water. It was like really intensely bright.
Brighter than like the full moon, kind of?
Yeah, it was like a sun almost.
Wow.
It was like whoosh, but it took like 15 seconds to do that. It wasn't just like boom, and that was it. It wasn't like, I don't know, like a missile they shot out there and exploded or something. And it was there for hours beforehand, you know. It was like, we thought it was like a moon at first before it did that. And that's kind of basically what they look like, kind of thing, every time before they flashed. But then when they kind of dimmed down again, you could kind of see a little bit of a shape of like the Vimana kind of thing.
So every minute or so they would flash up and release an object and
Yeah, like one
this went on.
Mm-hmm. And a couple of like kind of I mean, yeah.
I have a question. So how long did this last?
Like 2 hours or more.
2 hours?
Or maybe more than that, 2.5 or something.
How many people were there with you?
We were like, in our troop, there's, I don't know, maybe 30 or something. And there was probably like 4 to 6 other troops with us there. And there was the staff that they say they saw something, but I didn't know their names because they weren't they weren't the rangers for my group or anything. And people on Emerald Bay, they said they saw something too. They saw lights, but it was like maybe in this general direction. And like some of them, like maybe like 2 or 3 of them kind of felt like they went that way, which is kind of weird. Like along with them, but mainly when they came from like these 3 different directions, and they all went that way. Yeah. The other 2 lights were, I don't know, maybe they were over here or something, I'm not sure. I don't know where they were, because I didn't have a top view of it.
Well, based on what you've described, I feel confident in saying that they weren't military. It sounds like whatever's going on in the Santa Catalina Channel, it's holding hundreds of UFOs. It must be a parking lot of UFOs down there, or a base, I'm not sure. But this is not the only case in this area involving hundreds of UFOs. There are multiple cases now. Particularly because they're coming out of these balls of light is not something that the military has officially released in any way. For them to test what would be secret aircraft over a group of Boy Scouts is just not believable.
Yeah, Preston.
I feel like this is probably a valid UFO sighting.
And all your years
You're really
of
lucky to have seen what you saw.
huge sighting with all that craft.
Right, right. Very unusual to see that many different types of objects at once.
So the only ones that he really could talk to about it were the boys that he was with. And I have contacted both of those parents, and we just haven't had a chance to really sit down and talk. But I think the other parent says, yeah, man, the story, I couldn't believe it. He says, I really want to talk to you about this. But the father is a SWAT officer in the sheriff's department. And one time I called him, he was out on surveillance, and he couldn't talk then. And
Yeah,
other
because
times,
it's like, just as they're starting to talk, the guy had been wandering to start moving around, so like, oh, by him, this is like...
yeah, so I will get in touch with him.
I do hope to, yeah.
And I'm sure
Because to have corroboration on a case like this is
Huge.
really,
essential.
really
Yeah.
strengthens it. And I think to make
And I
it more
think he was
credible.
very open to it. And it's
I'm
just
sure there's a
that-
lot of other witnesses too. There has to be, right?
Yeah.
But see, the mainstream media doesn't do their job. There's actually CIA documents that have been released from the Freedom of Information Act, which show that not only do they want plausible deniability so they don't tell certain branches, most branches of the government, but they are to discredit witnesses, to make up whatever explanation, and to ridicule the story. Now, you are an expert on USOs. You've appeared on History Channel, other channels, on specials of USOs under unidentified submerged objects, which, as you have said, are basically UFOs that are flying in water using the same craft. You've done, what, over 200 cases just in this channel alone, Catalina channel?
Yeah, there's definitely well over 100. I'm not sure if it's quite 200, but there are literally hundreds of cases of UFOs in this one particular area. And not only just UFOs, but USOs, where these objects are coming in and out of the water, and all around Catalina Island. And where this Boy Scout had his experience is a huge hotbed of activity. I think that there's a lot of evidence pointing towards the existence of some sort of underwater base, and Alan's testimony really supports that.
They kind of slowed down a little bit and went back, and then they just kind of went like, oh, well.
Do you believe these were controlled intelligently?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like, it looks like it's made out of an object, it's like in the air, and
So these were not
it's
just
floating. It wasn't
lights.
just like, it just wasn't like a fairy or something.